Good evening, everyone. We are so happy to have you here with us tonight. It is right at 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Happy to have you here for the Direct Marketing Summit. This is day 2 of the 3-day mini summit that we're having. On behalf of the planning committee, I want to say welcome. Thanks for being here. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. Hopefully everyone had a little easier time with the Zoom link. If there were any problems, anything that anyone misses, we'll be able to send a link out later, be able to catch that information. Tonight, this is webinar style, so you don't have to worry about your camera or your microphone. You'll be muted, your video will be off. So if you have any questions or comments, you can type those into the chat box or into the Q&A feature there in the Zoom portal. We'll keep an eye on both of those and we'll work with the speakers to get your questions answered. If we don't make it through everything tonight, we'll follow up with the speakers, post those responses and any other additional resources on our event webpage. I mentioned all sessions this week are being recorded, so if you missed anything last night or you missed anything tonight or tomorrow, those will all be available for viewing after the summit. Or if you have internet issues or electrical problems or need to drop off early, all that's going to be recorded. The links will go to the email you used at registration, so you can rewatch any sessions or catch anything you might have missed. So our moderator tonight is Dr. Tim Woods, who is a professor of ag economics at the University of Kentucky. We'll go ahead and get started. Tim, I'm going to launch our icebreaker mini poll, and the webinar is all yours.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, so that webinar poll should hop up. Welcome, everybody, here today. Super excited to hear from Megan Leffew and Emily Spencer, a couple of folks that I have worked very closely with over the years in the direct marketing space. So here's our icebreaker poll, and get in here and give your best response as best you can. Your level of experience with value-added products. I'm currently selling products. I have products or recipes in development, but not yet selling. Thinking about or just getting started with value-added products. I'm not interested in developing or selling value-added products. So surely you fit in one of those categories there. Click your best response and we'll get a little flavor of where we're at with our audience this evening. All right, as you're finishing up that poll, I do want to introduce to start us off this evening, Megan Leffew. Megan has worked with the Center for Profitable Ag down with the good folks at the University of Tennessee Extension. I've had a chance to work with Megan for many, many years. She's got so much in the trenches expertise in agritourism, in so many direct marketing activities, and I'm always reaching out to her for shared programming ideas, and we do a lot of mutual beg, borrowing, and stealing back and forth across the border to support our various programs. So Megan, thank you for joining us tonight, and we're looking forward to hearing your comments.
Oh, I am so thrilled to be here and have the opportunity to share with you all. Tim was on a program here in Tennessee just over lunchtime today, so we are fortunate to be able to do that. Let's see if I can get my screen shared appropriately here.
And Megan, can you see the poll results so you can kind of see where people are?
I did. Thank you. That is very slick. Very nice.
Okay.
So it's great to see we have a lot of folks who are already in the value added business. So I hope that you will share resources and suggestions along the way in the chat box if that's possible. And then there is, so about 44% we're currently marketing. And then 14% we're really getting started with some development of value-added products, and 32% we're maybe getting started. So that's a large number of folks. So let's dive in here. I have more material than we have time for, I'm sure. Value added is a very broad topic, and when we get into defining what we feel we use as value added in Tennessee for our Center for Profitable Agriculture work, you'll see why. And then we'll kind of get into a 10,000 foot view and provide some steps on getting started and some resources as well. So we'll start with just what is value added. Different folks have different definitions of what that means. So we'll start with a baseline definition and then talk about some of the opportunities that are perhaps out there for farmers interested in adding value to their products. With opportunity, there are also some challenges. So we'll discuss some of those challenges. And then from our experience in working with value-added producers, what we see as maybe some factors of success that are pretty common among folks that do well. And then we'll get into 5 major steps to creating value-added products. And those are pretty broad as well, but will help get you started in the right direction. So when we talk about value-added agriculture, what I'm talking about is our products that allow producers to earn a greater portion of consumer expenditures by taking your raw agricultural commodity, product, or resource and processing, packaging, and marketing them in a new way. So there we have an example of a salsa made from fresh produce on the farm, and that could certainly be one example of value added. So why would producers be interested in doing this? Well, there are some opportunities there to increase financial returns. There are a lot of middlemen between raw agricultural commodities and end consumers in many cases. And when we remove those middlemen from the supply chain, we hope that we are able to we certainly encounter some more expenses, but sometimes we're also able to eke out a little bit more profit as well. There's also some strong demand right now, and has been for a while, but perhaps even more now, for fresh and local products and experiences. And some segment of the population is willing to pay more for those local products and local experiences. Sometimes producers are able to use product that would go to waste otherwise, whether it's not as high a quality or excess product, and able to put that into a value-added product and create some income from that. And sometimes we're able to take maybe some smaller quantities of product and market it in a new way in order to earn some revenue where we couldn't have a market before. If this dollar bill on the page represents a dollar spent by a consumer on food on average in the United States, and as you can see, only about 14.6 cents on average of that gets back to the farmer. More than 85% of that marketing share goes to other places along the supply chain, from processing and packaging to transportation and labeling and retailing. And hopefully by adding value, you're able to gather more of that dollar of the consumer, and perhaps all of it. Of course, you're going to have some more expenses along the way too. This shows how the farm and marketing shares represented on that dollar in the slide before has changed over time. So that the top line there is the farm share. And if you'll notice down toward the end, that we're really on a downward trend here, and the marketing share is going up. So it's not looking so great for farmers as prices continue to decline over time. That makes it even more challenging. So some farmers are looking toward value added as a means of trying to sustain their farms and generate profit. That doesn't always happen though. That's not always the case. So one way we can look at value-added agriculture is to consider this continuum. And if you've read anything about the experience economy, this goes along with that a little bit. So if we produce a raw commodity, in our example, we're going to look at apples. We are able to generate one price for that. And an apples at retail, if we use that apple to make a good, then it would take more than an apple. But we might be able to make a pie, and we might be able to make, but be able to sell that pie for $15 to $20. Perhaps for a really special homemade apple pie and marketing, we're able to increase the gross income anyway of that product that we sell. Hopefully, we're able to eke out some extra profit in there between $1 and $20 as well. We can even go a little bit further and add value further to that good by slicing up that pie and putting a scoop of ice cream and maybe some warm caramel over the top and selling that from our on-farm retail store. We were at offering perhaps a service with that, and we might be able to then charge $5 or $6 for that slice of pie with some ice cream. And so we could get several slices out of that pie and perhaps generate more income that way. Finally, we can add some sort of experience with that. And maybe we are offering classes to learn how to bake pies in our kitchen, and we might be charging $50 for somebody to come to that class and learn about our operation and learn about how to make pies the way we do. So each of those steps along the way, we're adding value to our raw commodity, our beautiful, delicious apple down there. So some other examples of ways that folks add value. This is Grinder Switch Winery in Centerville area, Tennessee. And they grow grapes and, of course, make wine and have a tasting room on the farm there, but also a satellite tasting room in Nashville. They've been doing some unique things during the time of COVID to try to generate business, and they had sales. They have been offering fire pits and fire tables for reservations, and they will serve charcuterie boxes, and of course there is wine for purchase. They've also been doing some food truck events out there and have been working to get people to come out to the winery and enjoy those things. And that's a safe event outside in times of COVID, or you can have your own space and your own personal meal, and what a great date night opportunity. Muddy Pond Sorghum produces sorghum syrup, and also barbecue sauce for their sorghum. And they also then do demonstrations where they are pressing the sorghum with their horses. And they do that on their farm at Muddy Pond, and also at Dollywood during the fall, and some other places. So that's another example of value added. Granddaddy's Farm is in Estill Springs, Tennessee. They grow apples and pumpkins and mums, and also have fall school tours and farm fun and on-farm retail market. And they do some pies and other projects with their pumpkins and caramel apples, and they have some delicious honey as well. Hatcher Family Dairy is just south of Nashville, and they milk cows and do their bottled milk products, including milk, chocolate milk, whole cream, and Jumpin' Jimmy's kind of a energy drink with their milk, and market that from the farm and in lots of little retail locations across Middle Tennessee. Donnell Farm Meats. This is an interesting story because due to COVID, many of you and many farmers have experienced some increase in demand from local consumers. And we have found that that caused a bottleneck and shortage of meat processing opportunities, or meat processing appointments. So some of the farmers who have been in business, including Andrew Donnell at Donnell Farms near Jackson, Tennessee, have been considering how to help with that processing bottleneck. They had animals getting ready, and it was difficult to get appointments for them. So Andrew and some others, but this is Andrew's, has put in a further processing facility. So he has an arrangement with a USDA inspected processing facility where he takes his animals to the processor, and the processor harvests them and breaks them down enough that Andrew can transport the carcasses and takes them back to his processing facility, and then further processes them out and can sell them then from the farm. So working through the innovation. We also have some non-food type value-added products, and just a couple of the examples of those. This is from Stephanie Henley, who has Henley Botanicals in Hampshire, Tennessee. And she uses her beeswax in several products, including the lip butter and hand balm, and then uses herbs. And she does do some dried herbs for cooking purposes, but this is a botanical facial steam that she does. So we can think beyond food products when we think of value added as well. My final example here is Argrow Organic Soil Conditioner, and this is from Rollins Farms in Giles County, Tennessee. These folks have retired, but it is such a good example that I still use it once in a while when we're talking about value added. They turned their waste from their egg hatching chicken houses and into an organic soil conditioner, which they marketed for many, many years. So they turned something that was costing them money to incinerate and get rid of into quite the business for themselves. So let's jump in now. Just a second, I'm going to try to move this to just a little bit about the opportunities in value added, if some of those examples, including some of those examples. So the Census of Agriculture has some data by state about the number of farms and value of sales for value added products in the state. And I have Kentucky and Tennessee here. I know we have folks who are not from those states on the call, or at least who registered, and you can find this from the USDA in the things that there's some a link at the bottom that can kind of help you a little bit. If you can't find it for your state, shoot me an email and I'll find the right table and send it to you. So for Kentucky in 2017, that's the latest Census of Agriculture that was conducted, 889 farms reported production and sales of value-added agricultural products, totaling more than $11.5 million in sales. And on average, the sales per farm per processed or value-added products was just over $13,000. In Tennessee, we're behind you in the number of farms. We had 757 farms doing value-added products. Sales were over $16 million, and average sales per farm were over $21,000. They have collected data on that in the past, but they changed how that has been collected and what's included. So unfortunately, we can't compare it to the past data that we have, but we believe that those numbers are growing. Opportunities, we can find information about trends and things in some from university sources. This was an interesting article I've seen from Forbes. The headline, of course, is COVID-19 has given consumers 5 new reasons to eat local. Now, oftentimes some things are perception, and whether or not they're true or not is maybe up for debate in some cases, but this article claimed that locally sourced food provides social benefits to consumers, is good for local economies, is healthier and safer, is more resilient to supply chain disruptions, and is better for the environment. So these were 5 arguments that the article gave that consumers are looking even more to eat local, which provides some opportunity for you as producers of local foods and local value-added products. There are not without challenges, value-added products. Of course, we know farming is not without many challenges as well. So when you're doing value-added agriculture, you still have to deal with all of the challenges of farm production, from selecting inputs and soil fertility and worrying about disease and pests and livestock and all that comes along with being a farm, or raising livestock. You can use that angle as well. Well, when you do value-added agriculture, you still have everything going on at the farm production level, but you're adding a whole nother dimension to your operation. So you have all those production issues, and then you need to consider processing and what the regulations that come along with that, packaging, storing, marketing, distribution, customer service at a whole new level usually, and perhaps dealing with some additional labor. And so that's a lot of balls to juggle. New food product stats in the country are a little bit depressing, so don't look too much into this, but it is a little dose of reality that if you're going to do this and do it for a business, it takes some planning and take it seriously to do it right and make a profit. So there are about 15,000 new food products launched each year, and about 10% of them are successful of those new food and beverage products. And so we want you to be among the 10% if you go ahead with a value-added food product, at least. And we want you to be among the successful in other products as well. So hopefully we can give you some ways to do that. I want to start with a piece of advice, I guess, is to really remember that product is only one piece of the puzzle. And a lot of times I'll get a call that says, I have the best recipe for salsa or barbecue sauce or whatever it is. And, if we build it, they will come. If we produce it, they will buy it. And that's not always the case. If you produce it, they may not buy enough. If you produce it, they may not pay more than it costs you to produce it. So there's more to this puzzle than just the product. Product is certainly important, but there's some other pieces to consider. Oftentimes, it may be helpful to look at why all those 90% of products that come on the market fail. And sometimes we can put those most of the time into categories of the 3 M's. So the first is money. Businesses may start and not have enough money to get started up and operate, and while their sales are growing and they're generating customers and trying to earn repeat customers. It takes some money to start and it takes some money to get operating. And as a lot of businesses found, unfortunately, in this time of a global pandemic, it takes some money to get through when there is something unexpected that comes up, some sort of emergency. Sometimes it's a natural disaster. Sometimes it's an economic downturn. Who would have thought we would have been doing that now with a global pandemic? But money is certainly an issue at times. Management is having the skills and experience to juggle all of the balls necessary in order to make the business run. And we talked about some of those balls in that slide about production issues and value-added issues, and we'll talk some more about that as well coming up. The third is marketing, and we talked a lot about that in last night's fabulous sessions, specifically the promotion part, and it is very important. The reason that marketing causes a lot of businesses to fail is that the key is knowing who your target audience is, really understanding them, and targeting everything from your product and pricing and advertising and where you have your product available to the needs and desires of that target audience and not just the general public. There's one M that's not on this slide and wasn't included in this research, but is very true, and that's a little bit of magic. That's the drive, the energy, the passion that it takes to make these enterprises successful. When a roadblock comes up, to keep going. This is, typically not a 40-hour week, 8 to 5 kind of job. Of course, farming isn't either. So most folks are aware of that. Having your own business can be grueling. Factors of success that we see include having management skills and labor skills, labor to manage skills to manage the labor, skills to manage costs, starting in a strong financial position, having that money to get started and operate while you're building customers, a long-term commitment because it takes some time to get started, to jump through all the hoops that are needed to start a value-added business, some marketing savvy and ability to connect with consumers. Not all of us have that desire or that ability. Some regulatory acumen, being able to understand what the regulations are, being able to work with regulators to make sure that you can make it happen. Those people and customer service skills, and be able to produce quality products consistently. We definitely value-added products are perceived to be high quality. Local products in general are perceived to be high quality. And so if we don't meet that expectation of consumers, the first time they won't be back. But if they come back and we don't meet that expectation the second time, then they won't be back. So we have to produce those quality products consistently. So to achieve profitability, we need to do quite a few things, more of those balls to juggle. We really have to be able to manage costs, because profit is income minus expenses. So I heard recently that you can't outrun a bad diet. Well, you can't outrun a bad cost diet either. So you've got to be able to manage those costs. We've got to manage our production quality and efficiency we mentioned on the last slide. We need to be able to achieve a sales volume of some level to be able to start covering our costs. And we need to price for profit. And that can be hard for farmers as well, to maybe price what a product is worth in the marketplace versus what we think it may be worth, and to consider all the factors in pricing, including costs, what our customers are willing to pay, what the competition is, and our business goals out there. We really need to work hard to build repeat customers. It costs 3 to 5 times more to earn a new customer than to keep an existing one. Repeat customers are the lifeblood of any business. And we need to be able to manage the risk that comes along with the business, which is also another part that producers don't often like to think about, but is vitally important. So let's dive in now to 5 major steps to creating value-added products. And I know I'm going to speed this up a little bit. We'll go through these rather quickly, and then be able to talk a little bit afterwards, and you'll have my contact information if you have further questions. So my first step is first take a hard look in the mirror and assess your resources, your missions, and your goals. What do you want to do, and do you have the skills and resources to be able to do it? So really take a look at yourself and do a personal assessment of you and the people on your team. Are you a self-starter? Are you a hard worker, effective communicator? Do you adapt well to change and accept risk? Do you have family support? Are you healthy, maybe competitive and creative? Are you proactive? Those are all things that successful entrepreneurs typically are. We want to set goals, and it's encourage you to write down your goals. This research was really fascinating to me. 83% of people have no goals. The 14% of people with goals in their heads are 10 times as successful. And the 3% 3% of people with written goals are 30 times more successful than folks without written goals. So I want you to be in the 3% category. So work on that. We want those goals to be SMART, which means specific, what you will accomplish, measurable, how you will know when you reach the goal, attainable, make sure that you can actually reach that goal with the resources that you have available. It's relevant, that it positively impacts your missions and aligns with your values, and is time-based so that you have some sort of timeline on when you're going to achieve that goal included in it. Our second one is to research the market. So before you get too far along, it's good to try to figure out if there's an actual market for the product. And I've worked with producers in the past who have been 2 years into marketing a product and come to me and want me to try to help them. And, there's not a market for what they need it to be. There's not enough, or people aren't going to buy enough, or buy enough more often. So you want to find that out before you get too far into it. I encourage you, if you don't have a product idea, especially to take a market-driven approach and take a look out there to see, is there a need or want in the marketplace that your business can fulfill? And if there is, what is that need and how much is desired? What do people want out of that product as far as characteristics, and really what do they need, and what competition exists for that out there? Some ways that you can research the market is to take a look at some of the trends that are out there in some market research. Just a couple of examples. There are several resources out there, but I love this National Restaurant Association survey that gives the trends from a survey of chefs and each year. This year, it's quite a bit different. As you can imagine, 2020, it says right at the top, was a year unlike any other for the food service industry. So this study for me sometimes gives us ideas about what products we can market to restaurants. And in this case, I think it gives some ideas about maybe some things you can even do yourself. So, and this talks about bundled meals or meal kits, meal subscriptions, selling groceries, sorts of things. So it also gives you an idea what consumers are looking for, like comfort foods. Whole Foods also does a top 10 foods trends each year for groceries, and take a look at that link down there. And I'll be sure to share this presentation slides so that they can be sent to everyone as well. So you'll have these links. So Basics on Fire, things are getting spicy. Coffee beyond the mug, people are really liking coffee flavors. Baby food, all grown up. So really some baby food items. Upcycled foods is using items that would normally go to waste and making products out of them. So fruit and veggie jerky, lots of things that Whole Foods is saying is coming down the pike for food trends. So definitely some things that we could look at here as far as, where we might be able to find a product that would fit our resources. We also want to identify a target audience. We talked about that last night, but your target audience really is your ideal consumer. They're a portion of the population that has that need or want that your business can fulfill. They are willing to purchase your product, and they have the ability to purchase your product at a price that is profitable for you. So they're your first and best customer. We also, in taking a market-driven approach, before we get too far into developing our business, we need to at least have an idea about whether a profitable market exists. So are there enough of those target consumers out there that you can reach and earn their business from, that you can make a go of this? Are you able to produce your product at a cost low enough and sell it at a price high enough to generate a profit? And if these things aren't true, then we need to back up in 20 and punt, so to speak, and try to see if we can make some changes to our plan. There is a food product cost and pricing tools webinar that my colleague Hal Pepper did the spring for a farmer's market vendor boot camp. If you're interested in learning about what some tools, spreadsheet tools that are available to help you figure out what products may cost you to produce, which will help you in this step, I encourage you to check out that webinar. The third thing I suggest is that you investigate the regulations. And oftentimes this is the first question we get at our office. And it is an important question, and mostly it's related to producing or manufacturing the product. There are lots of regulations for value-added enterprises. Many of them are related to food manufacturing, but there are regulations in Tennessee, at least, if you're selling pet foods and pet treats. There are soap and cosmetic regulations from the federal level. There's agricultural inputs that, for example, if you were doing a composted soil conditioner, there's weights and measures regulations. So there's a lot of regulations that aren't often well known. So it's good to think about those. We also need to think about, do you need a business license and to pay business tax? What about sales tax? A lot of times these things are different for value-added products than they are for raw agricultural commodity sales. Also, employment regulations are often different when you get into the value-added and agritourism arena than if you are doing just the production agriculture piece. And even at times there are some issues with your county planning and zoning. Can you manufacture and sell products from your farm? Sometimes we get into some of those issues, and does that impact your property taxes as well? So a few things to think about there. There are some great sources for help with what the regulations are. For Kentucky folks, I found this great website with some of the rules for home-based processing and micro-processing, and then a commercial food manufacturing in Kentucky starter guide. Looks like a great place to start if you're looking at food manufacturing regulations. In Tennessee, our office has tried to develop several publications, and we answer several questions a week about regulations, and we don't have all the answers, but we know a lot of people and can try to find the right person to help. The fourth step is to develop a business plan, and this is a big step that covers a whole lot of steps in between about how you're going to organize your business, how you're going to operate your business, the other important pieces of your marketing plan. We talked a lot about promotion last night, but also the product characteristics, the packaging, the distribution, where are you going to make it available for sale, how are you going to get it there, your pricing, other aspects of risk management, succession plan, other things that are really important. Farm businesses that developed a business plan were twice as profitable as others, according to one of the great ag economists, Dr. David Cole. So business planning is important. It helps you determine where you are, where you want to go, how you're going to get there, what resources you need, is it possible, and expected results. So another thing a business plan does is help you figure out what is it going to cost you to get started, and then help you develop a plan, work through where you're going to get those funds in order to start your business. A business plan helps you identify the values that are important to you and your team if there are other people involved. It helps you to organize and prioritize all of these many tasks that need to happen in order to start a business. It identifies those tasks and who is responsible for doing them. And then if there's any gaps, how are you going to fill those? It helps you communicate your plan, especially if you're going to find grants or loans. And it helps you develop a proactive mentality, and then also helps you to be able to create some methods of how you're going to measure your success or not, and help you know how you're doing with your goals and if you're reaching those. There's some great business planning resources available. SARE has a book available for free download, or you can purchase them as well, called Building a Sustainable Business. And then there is really nice software from the University of Minnesota called Ag Plan that has a template that you can use to write your business plan. It has example business plans, it has resources and tips available in it. It has a way that you can download your results into Word or a PDF and format it even right within that, and that is free as well. Our fifth step, and this is done as part of the business plan, but I did want to pull it out because it's something that folks don't like to do necessarily, but it is really important. And that's to assess and manage your risk with your value-added business. Oftentimes we just think of legal risk, the laws and regulations, or what happens if somebody gets hurt or sick because of what we do. And that's definitely an important risk for us to consider. But we also want to consider the other risks as well. Human resources risks, if a vital employee leaves, or heaven forbid, you have a death, a divorce, or a disagreement within your family or employees. Business interruption, we've seen some of that. Production, we are well accustomed to that in agriculture. Financial risk and marketing risk as well. What happens if a new competitor comes in, or if we aren't able to attract customers like we thought we were. So think about all of those. We want to manage risk using 4 different methods. The first is to reduce risk. That might be things like obtain food safety training, or follow good agricultural practices or good food manufacturing practices, or for food businesses, develop a recall plan. Things that we can do to prevent bad things from happening on the front end. Sometimes we transfer risk, and that's certainly important in a value-added business. We purchase insurance. You might purchase food product liability insurance, for example. You also, when you go into a value-added business, if you're using your vehicles for business purposes versus farm purpose or personal purposes, you want to visit with your insurance agent about that. You might accept risk and say, okay, I know that there's some risk to this, and I've done all I can to reduce and transfer it. And now I'm just going to save an emergency fund to take care of other loss or damages if that happens. And finally, we might choose not to produce or market a product in a certain way if there's just a risk that we're really uncomfortable with, that we can't reduce, transfer, or accept. We might choose just to not engage into an activity. So that is a 10,000 foot view in a nutshell. Value-added agriculture is in, but it's not necessarily easy. There's lots of challenges to it. It can be done, and it can be worthwhile, but we do want to do our homework and do our due diligence in planning and using available resources. There are some great resources. I encourage you to look within your state, and some of these folks know about those as well. In Tennessee, we've been doing some workshops about starting a food manufacturing business in Tennessee, and hope to add some more of those to the calendar soon. And Tim Woods in Kentucky has been doing these in Tennessee and many other states. His Market Ready program is incredible if you're looking at marketing products to restaurants, grocery stores, institutions, schools, that nature. So definitely take a look at some resources that are available to help you along this journey. And I apologize for going over my time there, Tim.
You're on a roll, Megan.
Too much to say.
It is. It's a huge topic, and certainly appreciate the effort to try to cover a lot of really important issues. Maybe just a couple of quick questions while they're kind of fresh and in context here, that I think especially will be helpful for you. I know you've done a lot of work with the meat processing space, and somebody from Tennessee is actually asking about mobile processing and state inspection, USDA inspection. How does that fit into value-added space? Some quick thoughts on that?
Well, to sell retail meat in Tennessee, to sell retail meat cuts, it has to be USDA inspected. So we don't have a state inspected program. The custom exempt meat processors are state and federally inspected. I believe the mobile processors are doable. The big concern that I've heard with mobile processors, regulatory wise, is that you've got to have a acceptable water source, and then the waste disposal is an issue. So those are two big issues with the mobile processors. But definitely, please reach out to me, and I will. There's a lot of talk, as you can imagine, in the meat processing space right now, and we have some things going on, and we can talk about some specific questions, and I'll put you in contact with some folks.
Super. Maybe just one more, Megan, a really good question, and glad to see this. Somebody looking at floriculture, flowers, cut flowers, and how that can fit into value added. So not everything necessarily has to be processed, right, to be in the value added space. Lots of ways you can add value to products by all kinds of different things, right?
Yeah, so absolutely. So flowers, this has been a really hot topic, and Tim may knows even more about this than I am, I'm sure. But we see this in several aspects. First of all, cutting in bouquets at farmers markets, just some really pretty arrangements that go to the farmers markets, and you're direct marketing those. Certainly adds some value that way. We've seen some increase in some agritourism type activities where people are coming to the farm, cutting their own flowers. Sunflowers have been incredibly popular, but also some of the other flowers as well. In other states where lavender grows, evidently it doesn't grow well here. We've heard a lot about lavender lately. Lavender products and in the agritourism space for festivals, sunflower festivals as well. Classes on how to do floral design, dried flowers, all sorts of opportunities there. Some of them can be used in food products, and we've seen some flower jellies and some things like that. So lots of opportunities.
Super, super. Well, hang tight there, Megan. I know we had several other questions here too that folks will want to come back and follow up with as we work our way through the program. Thank you for those great comments. I want to turn the program over here to bring Emily Spencer on board. We do have a nice little transition poll that we've got for you to have a look at, and thinking about, of course, this crazy COVID business. And for you folks that have been involved selling things, we would love to get some feedback from you, just describing your customer demand, kind of looking forward here in 2021. May still be a little early to tell, but would love to get some thoughts from you here. Added a lot of new customers compared to 2020, added a few new customers, kept about the same, had fewer. 2020 was your first year selling direct. I don't sell direct to consumers. Give us your thoughts on that, and we'll tally those up as we transition here. But I wanted to take this opportunity. I want to introduce Emily Spencer this evening. Emily works with me in the Ag Economics Extension Program, and I will just tell this very quick story on her. I hired her away from this local brewing company where she worked as the marketing manager. Such a talent for marketing and branding and imaging and messaging. It was a great steal for me to be able to bring her into our team. And we're going to turn it over to Emily to give us some thoughts and ideas tonight about retention. And certainly as we go into this 2021 market season, customer retention's on the mind of a lot of us. Just having a quick look at our poll there, you can kind of see for a lot of folks, maybe still a little early to tell. A lot of folks kind of new into it, but we see the most common response. Most folks have added some new customers here already in 2021. either a lot or at least a few, which is a good sign. And we see that kind of across the local foods spectrum here, a lot of interest in local sourcing. Emily, how are we going to keep these folks buying from us here in 2021?
Well, hopefully we'll learn tonight. We'll see. Thanks, Tim. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be with you. I hope everyone is staying warm and safe. If where you are is anything like it is in Kentucky right now, the weather has been crazy. As Tim mentioned, my name is Emily Spencer. I'm an extension associate in the Department of Agricultural Economics at UK. And just a little bit of background on me. I grew up in a family-run business, and then, as Tim mentioned, before this job, I worked in marketing and administration for a local brewery here in Lexington. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to create relationships with customers for the purpose of customer retention. You know, from the poll, it looked like over 50% of you all, saw some kind of uptake of customers in the last year, which is huge, right? So, I think a lot of us saw a lot of people panicking about, these global supply chains, going to the grocery store and not seeing the bread they always have, things like that. So it's important for us to think about the ways we can work to keep these customers, even after all of this has settled down. Megan mentioned in the last presentation that in order to achieve success and profitability, you have to build repeat customers. And that's really what our customer retention is. So here's just a brief agenda of my presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I believe customer retention to be, principles and strategies to keep customers coming back, touch on some points about how to incorporate retention into your marketing plan, and then go over a few questions you should ask yourself when thinking about what strategies might work for you and your business. So if you're like me, some of your eyes may be glazing over already, when I'm trying to think about cost, benefits, and analysis, details, inner workings of customer retention. So what I'm really going to try to do tonight is humanize retention, to look beyond the numbers and try to see the relationship side of things. We want our customers to know that there are actually human beings behind our businesses and our social media pages. So I've listed here what I think are the two main aspects of customer retention: engaging your customers and making marketing easier on yourself. At the end of the day, all customer retention is cultivating meaningful relationships with your customers. So, I've worked in small businesses almost my whole life, and I know that as small business owners and managers, you don't always have the time to sit around the dinner table with your customers and share a meal, even if you want to. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to get the most out of these limited interactions with your customers, how to show them that you care about, your product and you care about their experience with your product. When I was in graduate school, I bartended a little bit to make some extra money on the side. Turns out graduate school doesn't pay that much. And my manager told me on my first day, only 25% of someone's experience here is what is in that glass. 75% of the reason someone returns their business is their experience and interaction with you. And I think this goes for every business. As long as your product is good, it doesn't necessarily have to be the best. It can be comparable to every other product at the market, but people will keep coming back because they'll remember that you treated them right, you look them in the eye, and at the end of the day, you really stand by your product. So just going to talk about numbers for a little bit. Customer retention pays off in the long run. Retention has a lower cost compared to acquisition, so it costs less to keep a customer than it does to gain one. Not only is it more cost effective to keep customers, these customers will also spend more money in the long run. When they buy into your brand, your family, or your farm, their loyalty will become more important than the comparative cost of goods. The most important cost aspect of customer retention is the amount of built-in marketing that you will gain from having a solid customer base. Word of mouth marketing is still the most important method of marketing. So people listen to who they trust, like their family, their friends. So the higher retention rates you have, the more time you'll have to actually farm, or maybe even take a nice vacation. Man, how nice does that sound right now? So again, just want to highlight quickly the cost benefits of customer retention, just to show you that these numbers really will back up everything we talk about tonight. So this is an example given to me by K-Card here in Kentucky, showing the marketing money spent on gaining new customers versus retaining existing ones. So I also want to note that, I will say CSA a lot in this presentation, but I really want you to think more broadly than just like your typical CSA, because I know a lot of us expanded to other direct to consumer sales things this year. So let's say you have a 200 member CSA operation, in which you typically spend $25 marketing money on each new CSA customer. So these are things like Facebook ads, CSA fairs, things like that. After the first year, if you only keep half of your CSA customers, you will only need to spend half the money it takes to find new ones. In this example, you retain a few more customers every year, meaning you need to spend less marketing money each year. Over 3 years, you will have saved a significant amount of money that can be used for various things like a nice vacation for yourself, or maybe some infrastructure improvement you've been wanting to do around your farm. I just want to show you this again to highlight, there is a monetary value of building relationships with your customers. And, it will pay off in the long run. So a lot of these customer retention strategies that I'll talk about today don't necessarily cost money outright, but they do take time, which is also a valuable resource and something you need to keep in mind. So this is a little graphic I like to use to organize my thoughts on everything that goes into cultivating these meaningful relationships with customers. Keep in mind that customer retention is building relationships in the small amount of time that you actually have to interact. So I'm going to touch on each of these points today: new customer onboarding and education, ongoing customer training, communication and support, surveys, and customer appreciation. At the end of the presentation, if there's a certain aspect you really want, more resources on, something I can specifically help you out with, please just send me an email. I have my contact information at the end, and I can send you some resources to help you with that specific strategy. So I'm going to start with customer onboarding. Customer onboarding is just another way to say your customer's initial experience with your product. Onboarding is important because it makes your customer feel more comfortable using your product, or service. When someone uses your product for the first time, they might get frustrated without any kind of onboarding. So maybe they don't know exactly where on the farm to pick up the meat they ordered, or they don't know how to prepare the rutabaga or pork shoulder in this week's CSA share. Onboarding will really help with these issues and make it so your customer easily interacts with you and your product. Values-based onboarding is communicating to your customer why they should care about your product. The more likely they are to find value in your product, the more likely they are to try it at all. However, with effective onboarding, this is what really will keep them coming back. An example of values-based onboarding could be as simple as, saying, we grow all of our food ourselves. Our food is certified organic. Or, I saw like this example in one of the resources I used, something really specific, like our farm sells pasture-raised pork by the cut to busy working moms with young children who don't have time to slow cook something for dinner. At the end of the day, what is the thing about your product or your business that you think your customers should care about the most? And this might be the same reason that you care about your product. That you're keeping cattle on the land that your grandfather started his family on, or maybe local food is important to you for sustainability reasons. Tell your story, right? Tell who you are, why you do what you do, and why others should care. Then use this story to market your products. So slap it on a label and label everything. Now, knowledge-based onboarding looks a little different. So when we think about knowledge-based onboarding, you might be thinking like, you mean I have to literally train and educate my customers? And I think, yeah. So this might be different than, what you're initially thinking. I'm not saying that you have to have a classroom session on the benefits of microbial organisms in your soil, although I would actually be really interested in that. But I am saying that you have to educate people about your product in a way that makes it make sense to them. So knowledge-based onboarding is really all about making your product or service accessible for your customers, making it easy for them to understand, use, and appreciate. So for those that operate CSA farms, either with veggies, or any other product, CSA membership agreements are a fantastic example of an effective knowledge-based onboarding strategy. This is a document that your customers sign prior to the season starting that establishes guidelines and expectations, how many shares they can expect, when they can expect them, details like that. Creating these kinds of agreements helps you to avoid any misunderstandings between you and your customers later on in the season. It will also, just help instill customer confidence in you and your product. So examples of way you can build this trust between your customers and yourself are listed here. Creating a membership agreement is a way for you to build up your relationships without having to spend a lot of time doing so, outside of creating this agreement itself. By reading through it, your customers will understand you better, and they will trust that you're taking care of them in their purchase of your product. So contact information where your customers can reach you with questions, definition of the program, why are they participating in this? What is a CSA? Explanation of growing or raising practices. This will be really important to some people, not as important to others, but nonetheless, it will educate your customer base, which is a good thing. And, for those that produce meat and dairy products as well, don't assume that your customers understand all that goes into the processing of your products. Explain to them the differences in the cuts of meat or the types of milk, because these are things that people really want to know. Talk about rules and procedures. Where will they be able to pick up their produce? What time? What happens if they're unable to pick it up on that day and that time? What happens if they don't pay on time? Laying out these kinds of expectations is super helpful in avoiding any conflict or misunderstandings later on in the season. So now your customer is onboarded and their training isn't finished. As you work with them, they will need ongoing education and training so that they remain engaged with you and your product. These are 3 goals of ongoing customer education and training. Accessibility. By continuing to educate your customers about your products, they will be more accessible to them. So I remember the first time, I heard about a friend getting kohlrabi in their CSA share. First of all, obviously it's a very unique looking vegetable. And it's really cool. But second of all, she had no idea what to do with it, and she had no guidance on what to do with it. And it ended up going to waste because she didn't know how to prepare it. So related to accessibility is creativity. By educating your customers on your products, you will empower them to be creative with them. If they successfully make one recipe that you give them, maybe they'll feel more equipped to make something of their own next time. People love being creative, especially with their food. If they think your product as something that allows them to do this, they will enjoy it more. So really what all of this is, though, is keeping your customers' interest. If you have the same product available all the time, or you offer the same recipes over and over, your customers might lose interest. They'll move on to another business that is offering something more unique or interesting. So allowing for options is a really easy way to do this. An interesting way to keep your customers' interest is to offer, if you have a CSA operation, something like a market style CSA every now and then, where you have a set box of product, but customers get to pick from a bin, exactly which pepper or which tomato they want for their box. Just a really nice way to keep customers engaged and let them be creative a little bit with their options. So recipes are one of the most simple ways to keep your customers educated. These are some examples of recipes I have received with CSA shares and at farmers markets over the years. Doesn't have to be anything fancy at all, right? You can see that one of these is just some simple steps printed on a piece of paper. These can also be part of your email newsletter if you wanted, or you can even post it on Facebook, maybe the night before or the week before you're going to be at the farmer's market. Just a really nice way to educate your customers about how they can use your product. I think, people also really appreciate this, right? It's a way to communicate to your customers that you care about their experience with your product. You don't just care about the fact that they bought it. You want them to actually enjoy it. So, that's true, right? You want them to enjoy it. The more a customer enjoys your product, the more likely they are to return and buy again, and maybe even try something new. Another popular way to continue to educate your customers is on-farm visits. I did a tour of my CSA farm several years ago, and I just absolutely loved it. It was nothing fancy, just a walking tour around the greenhouse, some of the plots. I think it was maybe 20 minutes total, but it really stuck with me. Again, this isn't something that every customer will want to participate in, but for those that do, it will definitely be impactful. And don't forget that while the late July cherry tomato forest might be a nuisance to your customer that has never seen the tomato on the vine, this can be something truly special for them to experience. I think as people that work in the ag industry, we can easily become disenchanted by knowing exactly where our food comes from. But remember, it isn't like this for most people. On-farm visits can be a really nice way to interact with your customers and educate them at the same time. So moving on to communication and care. And for those of you that were here last night, some of this may be, a little bit of a repeat. So just kind of take it in stride. But possibly the easiest way to engage regularly with your customers is through social media and email newsletters, which we learned last night are extremely effective. So through these, you can educate, inform, and communicate. So first, you just want to be present. This is often, on your social media pages, this is often where customers see posts and information about your farm or business. Customers also share their favorite farms and local food or market vendors through social media, and that could lead to new customers for you without any extra work on your part. Social media is also a place where you can make personal connections with people. It gives you a place to show the highlights of your farm, the ups and downs that makes farming actually relatable. Your customers want to see these things because, it makes them feel really connected to where their food is coming from. You should also be present all year. So don't just post during the growing season and then be radio silent in the off season and then come back to social media marketing when it's actually convenient for you. You can't fall off the radar and just come back when you need something from it. It is important to be present at all times. It allows you to create deeper relationships with your customers. Next, be open. Ask your customers if they're happy with your products. Is your business providing customers with what they were expecting? There's always room for improvement. Customers are likely to come back to a farm or vendor that cares about their opinion and input. Next, continue making personal connections. These personal connections can influence a customer's decision to remain a customer or go somewhere else. A personal connection over social media looks like responding to comments. Whether those are positive or negative comments, a response should always be there. Thanking them for sharing a post, things like that. And then lastly, just be consistent. People like the comfort of consistency. It is important for customers to know what to expect from your farm or that you will be at the farmer's market every Saturday. So if you're going to be at a different market this week, post it on Facebook. If you're going to be at the same market that you're at every week, still post it on Facebook. Customers trust businesses that they know what to expect from them. A really great way to use your social media is through these, what I like to call unboxed photos. So this is an example of some CSA share photos from our UK CSA farm. You can see that they post each week about what produce is going to be offered in the share that week. It gives their customers a heads up and also entices new customers. People like being able to see and share photos like this on their own social media pages. So for someone who sells meat, I know that a lot of pictures of raw meat can get flagged and taken down on social media. So a great option for you might be to share photos of how you care for the animals, the dishes you can cook with different kinds of meat, other tips about proper preparation, and maybe even a shopping list for a recipe, that has a dish with your meat at the center, but then has a lot of other sides that complement it. Even things like what the animals eat or how you interact with them on a daily basis could be really good content for anyone to share out. Again, I want everyone to, get outside of your own head and act like you are someone who knows nothing at all about your business. Educate your customers by telling the story of your farm. So next, I'll talk a little bit about surveys. Think of surveys as the ways that your customers understand the story you are trying to tell. They have expectations about your product, and it is important to understand whether or not you are actually meeting those expectations. Effective customer retention means achieving and measuring three things: maximizing customer satisfaction for current customers, identifying dissatisfied customers before they leave, and measuring why current customers leave. So some people do mid-season surveys. A lot of people do end-of-season surveys. Learning halfway through the season could be helpful, thinking about are your prices competitive at market, things like that. But I think end-of-season surveys can be particularly helpful in helping you prepare for the next season, learning what customers liked, why they liked it, and how you can provide more of those things. So when you're building out your customer survey, some things you want to ask your customers about are the quality of service they received throughout the season, any concerns they have about the service they received. Ask about how competitive your prices are compared to others with similar products. Are your prices making them consider taking their business elsewhere, or maybe they're even too low? Evaluate how effective your advertising was for the season. Did they see your Facebook post, or did they see your new signs at the farmer's market? What attracted them to your business in the first place? Ask them about their willingness to participate in a customer incentive program like early CSA signups or customer referrals. Some fairly simple programs you can use to create these surveys are Google Forms and Microsoft Forms. So if you have a Gmail account, you'll automatically have access to Google Forms. Gmail accounts are free, so anyone can get one. You can create a short survey, send the link out on your Facebook page or to your email list. And in the last couple of years, Facebook has actually created a way to do short surveys to your customer base. So you can do, like a 2 to 3 question survey, which would be short, but also, a really effective way to get some solid feedback from your customers. So the last part of the customer retention strategies that I'm going to mention today is gratitude. At the end of the day, express how thankful you are to your customers that they chose your business this year. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate by any means. People like to feel wanted and included, and gratitude is a great way to do that. So I have some examples of things you can say in person, over Facebook, or in an email newsletter to your customers to really show them gratitude for your business. Gratitude is key to any long-lasting relationship, and this customer small business relationship is no different at all. So say it with your words. Talk to your staff about saying thank you to every customer at the farmer's market, or say it through your social media pages. Say it with actions. Consider customer, feedback carefully and respond appropriately to that feedback. Listening to your customers' needs is a fantastic way to show gratitude for their interest in your business. Say it with incentives. I'll talk a little bit about this on the next few slides, but do a customer giveaway every now and then, and throw in a special tomato and a CSA share or something like that. Most importantly, out of all these, say it with sincerity. People will see through these shallow attempts at gratitude. Being sincere and showing your customers that you appreciate their business will actually keep them coming back. So these are some examples of some simple giveaways, ideas that you can do on social media. The first one here, the Big Kohlrabi Challenge, asks farmers market and CSA customers to take a picture with their kohlrabi just to show how huge it was. The biggest kohlrabi with the most creative picture won a small prize. I don't know, something like, a cool pepper, or even a sticker with, your farm's logo on it. People love stickers. In the second photo, golden tickets were hidden in a few random CSA shares that were worth a really small prize for the next week. Both of these are also good because, it gets your customers to post online about their business with you, which is, again, free advertising for you to their whole, all of their friends list. So it's a good way to combine this advertising and customer appreciation thing in the same avenue. So a few other ways to show customer appreciation, referral programs. If you have a customer who has referred several others to your business, and those referrals have really led to some good sales numbers for you, it can be a good idea to offer referral programs. So for example, ask people, how did you hear about us? And if they give you a person's name, send that person an email or a Facebook message, giving them a small discount on their next purchase. Even something like 5% can be huge and go a long way. Loyalty programs are another good one. Maybe your returning customers who sign up for next year's season before December get a small discount on next year's shares. Again, these small efforts, I promise you, will go a really long way. So a fairly simple way to show customer appreciation, which I really like, is to feature your customers on your social media feed. Ask them to post pictures of things they cook or make with your products and see if they will let you post it on your own feed. People love this kind of recognition. It's also, again, another low-cost way for you to show your customers that you're paying attention to them. So these are some things to keep in mind when you are thinking through ways to incorporate customer retention into your marketing plan for the year. We'll start with values. Keep values at the center of your marketing. Many people lean towards brands they connect with, and communicating your values is a way to easily allow them to do this. You want customers that believe in your brand and your values, because those are the customers that will, that you will connect with the easiest, which will keep them coming back. Awareness, keeping your customers' feedback at the forefront is incredibly important. So, when you have several customers from last season giving you specific feedback about something that really didn't work out and you continue to do it, this will be really tough for them to come back to your business. And this is really important because, again, of word of mouth. So most of your marketing will always be through word of mouth. That's your customers telling their friends, family, and coworkers about their experience with your business or product. And this is, again, the cheapest and easiest way for you to market your products. And the way to have this positive word of mouth marketing is to keep your customer at the center of your operation. And then lastly, just visibility. Make your operation as visible as possible to your customers so that they actually trust your brand, right? You want to be transparent so that they trust you. Ask them to do Google reviews, and even try to host some, public pickup locations for your CSA if you're not a market farm. And these little tactics will help you develop a relationship with your customer beyond just a transactional one. At the end of the day, we want our customer retention methods to benefit us and our businesses. So if creating an email newsletter every week feels and seems really draining and stressful for you, it's probably not the best option for you or your business. If you are energized by interacting with people, then on-farm visits or pickup and market interaction might work best for you. And, again, if you're easily drained by any of those interactions, something like social media can be helpful because it isn't really as direct. And these are just some questions you can ask yourself when thinking about, what methods might actually be best for you and your business. So think big picture. What aspects of this business do I enjoy? Find ways to communicate those joys to your customers. Think specific. Can I change my products to better meet the needs of my customers? Get customer feedback through surveys at the end of the season and change it up for next year. And, I talked about so many things in this presentation, but again, the root of customer retention is these relationships. Think about the ways that you easily create relationships in your own life and find ways to mimic that in your customer retention strategies. So to finish off, I just want to provide like a short list of things. Like if you, think in your head, like, oh, that was just so much information. Here's just a short list to think about, if you just want to start somewhere. One is measure your retention. So without measuring your retention, you will not know how many people are returning and how many people never came back after the first sale. So a lot of point of sale systems will actually do this for you. I know if you use Square, which a lot of people do, it will give you graphs and everything about new customers versus returning customers, which can be really helpful and also give you specific data on each customer. Customer surveys are also a really nice way to do this. Use your Facebook page for a customer survey. If someone did leave, try to figure out why. Send them an email or give them a phone call and ask politely why they decided to take their business elsewhere. Learning why customers leave will help you learn how to keep them. Limit weird veggies. Or meats. You want your product to be as accessible as possible, and having unfamiliar product at the market every week will be really intimidating for a lot of customers. So it's this balancing act of, keeping their interest by offering new products, but also, offering products that are accessible to them that they won't, get nervous about using. And then send pickup reminders, right? Or market reminders. So this is a super simple way to keep people engaged. Have an email list, phone list, even send it out on your social media page. Hey, don't forget, like, I'll be at the farmer's market tomorrow, or hey, don't forget, CSA pickup is tomorrow. These small reminders, will just keep you at the forefront of your customer's mind. And again, it'll show that you're really caring about their business and that they can trust you. So hosting farm events. So whether you're a CSA farm, farmer's market farm, or even a commercial farm, these events are a perfect way to connect your product to your brand and to your business. Again, this doesn't have to be a big ordeal. Keep it simple, small tour, maybe offer a few snacks or some lemonade. People will really, really appreciate it. And then, like I just mentioned, gratitude. I may go as far to say is, this is maybe not the most important, but it's definitely up there in the top 5 of ways to keep your customers. Remember that your relationship with your customer is just like any relationship in your life. They are showing gratitude to you by returning their business. So voicing it back to them will let them know that you noticed. Lastly, this is one of my favorites, and just like a little funny thing is, just because you can grow kohlrabi every week doesn't mean you should. So listen to your customers, find out what they actually like, what they will actually eat. And at the end of the day, hopefully they'll return their business. Here's just a few sources I used. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions at all, specifically about, resources for specific strategies and things like that. And I would be absolutely more than happy to send you some links and some publications and things like that that you can work with.
Outstanding. Emily, thank you so much for those comments and insights. And this is really going to be an important year, isn't it, for a lot of our folks in this direct marketing space, thinking about customer retention. And I appreciate the point you're making about being able to measure retention, right? So one of our favorite farm management professors up here likes to always remind us that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So certainly something we need to be monitoring. So a couple of good questions that have come up from our panelists that you might have some thoughts. I know you'll have some good insight on these. So somebody doing direct beef marketing, wanting some thoughts about social media, websites, Facebook, what sort of thoughts do you have in terms of what's effective? Where are people spending more time? And maybe kind of to your points here, how does that play into the retention conversation?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as which platform, I think to reach, both an older audience and a younger audience at the same time, Facebook is really the way to go. And I know we talked a little bit yesterday about how meat sales in particular can be regulated very differently than vegetable sales on Facebook. So you do have to be careful about your wording and things like that. But as far as just straight marketing, not doing sales over Facebook, I think this is a really, really, great way to go. And it's also a really easy way for people to ask questions about your products and things like that, where as a website, might not be as easy to do those things. So I have to fill out a form or send her an email, things like that. And yeah, so I think just that constant customer engagement you get through the social media pages really can't be matched with a website. But if you are doing, actual online sales, obviously a website is extremely useful, particularly with meat. But I don't think a website is necessary by any means, unless you are doing those online sales.
Kind of related to the social media kind of extension, I love your thoughts on this. It seems like when you have a happy, enthusiastic customer, they're going to share out in those social media spaces, right? The likes, the shares, the repostings, the putting it on their own various pages. So if you've got a happy customer, the word of mouth today means something different than it did, say, even 5 or 6 years ago. I think it's so much moves so quickly today in our social media spaces, with people that are happy about products, but also not happy about products.
Sure. Yeah, there's, I have definitely had experiences in my past job of customers expressing, their unhappiness with your business over their social media page, which obviously, again, like spreads like wildfire. People see it really quickly. But it's also really great for your customers to see you responding to that, and not just responding in words, but actually responding in actions. And it's also good for other customers to see you responding in that same vein, right? Like they can see that you're actually listening to suggestions and you're not just, deleting the comment and brushing it under the rug.
You've used the CSA example a number of times. I know with some of our CSAs that we've worked with here in Central Kentucky, one of the things that's really valuable for them with their customer retention isn't that they just are saving money from having to recruit them for the first time, but the retained customers buy more. They're more likely to sign up for a fall share, for a meat share, for an egg share, to come out and pick up some products at an on-farm retail market. And so part of that customer retention, it seems like, is also the opportunity to build your customer sales activity, right? So
definitely. And I know I don't have the specific source on me right now, but I have read that even if, again, like your prices may be more than somewhere else, like they could easily go somewhere else and get something at a lower cost. If they actually trust your brand, they know you, they know your products are quality, things like that, then the cost matters a lot less to that customer, which is huge.
Yeah, super. Well, Cindy, Bethany, let me, if I can, toss it over to you. I know we had a couple of other kind of general questions that came out for either Megan or for Emily. Some things maybe we didn't get a chance to touch on while we've got folks here that we can open the floor to our speakers here this evening.
Sure do. I mean, as long as Emily and Megan don't mind staying on a little bit longer, we can continue on answering questions. If our participants need to drop off, they can. All of this is recorded, but we do have so many great questions that I would love it if Emily and Megan what, and of course you too, because you're going to have some comments on some of these questions as well. But if you guys don't mind, I would love to continue.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely.
So Tim, do you want to just keep asking, or do you want me to ask?
Go ahead. There have been so many of them there. I haven't been able to keep up with all the things in our chat box.
I know, sure. So I'm going to go back to one about value added, and Emily, this may relate to with retaining customers. And the question is, do farm experiences return more value than crops do?
I'll give a great economist answer. It depends, okay? If you're talking about net income, some farm experiences can cost a lot to put on. You can spend a lot of money in developing infrastructure and attractions and building venue barns and all of these sorts of things. So and it also depends on which crop you're growing, perhaps, and where you're growing and where you're marketing it. I think agritourism operators this fall in Tennessee, for example, were really concerned about COVID-19 and the impact that the pandemic was going to have with requiring less occupancy and no school field trips. And I think some of them found that, bigger is not better. And they may have actually been more profitable in having fewer customers on the farm because the folks were able to have, perhaps a better experience. So on-farm experiences certainly can go a long way in doing what Emily was talking about in helping with retention, because they're building brand loyalty, they're building memories and traditions, and they're learning things, and they're becoming invested in you. So, there's a wide variety of experiences that can be, but I think farm experiences can be very valuable when they're positive experiences that people find value in. Emily, do you have something to add, or Tim, either one?
Well,
go ahead, Cindy.
Sorry, Emily. I was just going to say, that's one thing we heard from some agritourism locations this year was one of them didn't have the same sign anymore. They made some changes, and the feedback they heard from customers was, oh no, we've been taking a picture with our kids with this sign every year. So I think that's an interesting thing from a value add and a retention standpoint. If that's what people are coming back for, you got to know that, right? So you don't make big changes. So Emily, what do you think?
Yeah, no, and I mean, that goes perfectly with what I was going to say. Is just, don't feel like these experiences have to be elaborate. Like, a lot of it is just like very simple things, like a cool sign to take a picture with, or a small tour, like, I think you get the best value out of it, especially if you're starting out with these farm experiences, if you just start small and then really just get quality interaction.
It really does depend. I'll give another selfless promotion, I guess. We're doing a program about exploring agritourism for your farm. I have just a couple of spots left for one that will start in March, and then we'll offer some later on. So if you're interested in looking at something sort of farm experience, we'd love to have you join us in that. You can find the workshop link. It's free, 4 nights on our website. But I really do only have a few spots left. My admin will kill me if she has to make more copies.
All right, great. Well, one of our next questions, and I apologize, these are going to kind of bounce back and forth and they won't follow any sort of logical progression. So I apologize for that. But the next question is, what is considered successful for a food or beverage product? But also maybe, Emily, you can follow with what's successful from a retention standpoint.
So I guess that that may be in the eye of the beholder. So what are your specific goals, and what are you successful in meeting your goals? I think from the outside looking, you get in, and I think folks may be referring to that one slide about only 10% out of 15,000 products are successful. I think that goes back to, are they still on the market? Although I would like to take that a little bit even further, because sometimes if we see a product on the market, we don't know whether that product is profitable. And I think that would be my measure of success, is that product profitable? Now, we know starting a business day one, you're not going to be profitable. So it does take some time to build up to be profitable, but to have confidence that you're on the route to being profitable, those larger companies, they're not going to continue to produce a product that's not getting them what they want, which is the profit or some other benefit associated with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, this is where measuring your retention is super important. So, you can look at the products that you offered this season at market or this week at market even, and then, compare that to the customers that you had that were returning or that were new and then maybe return the next week. And then kind of compare those and see like, okay, well, people really, really like, whole wheat bread, but obviously this pumpernickel stuff is like not popular at our market, or something like that. We're just really paying attention to, returning customers after what products that you have at the market.
Mhm. And I'll put in a shameless plug for one of our partners here. So K-Card, for our producers that are here in Kentucky, be sure that you connect up with K-Card, the Kentucky Center for Ag and Rural Development, because a whole lot of this about setting goals and measuring your success, a lot of that is part of your business plan and your marketing plan. So that is a resource that's available to you as a Kentucky producer at no charge. And they'll really help you think through that business plan and to ensure that your goals and your progress towards those goals, that you're making good decisions, good business decisions. So Tim, I don't know if you have anything to add there. You seem to perk up a little bit. So I thought maybe you had some advice.
It's all good. I don't have anything more to take us down that. I know we've got several other questions that are really good. One that just came in, just thinking about engaging people on social media. And it's a really good question, I think, where moving beyond just the hearts, the likes, the thumbs up kinds of things. How do you have tips or ideas on how to encourage people to actually give you some meaningful feedback? Are there best practices or things that you've seen people use that are effective?
Yeah. So again, I saw that Bethany just put in the chat, but the presentation from last night had a really, really, really nice examples of this. But in my experience, I think, the really big one is questions. So like, if you actually put something out there that people have to respond to, it could be something as simple as like something silly, like, what are you doing for Mardi Gras, or, whatever, something specific to your business, but something just simple that people will actually respond to and get them to comment. I think, comments go a lot further than likes in terms of reaching more people. So you're right. Comments are super important to get. But if you actually put questions out there or put, some kind of call to action, like comment here, like tag your favorite farmer's market buddy, or, things like that, we'll get more eyes on it.
Megan, a question had come up, earlier about just business planning tools. There's different freeware. Any tips or guidelines, things that you guys have used with CPA or others that you like?
We have used both the Ag Plan and the SARE program. Hal did an 8-night series going through the developing the buildings businesses workbook and that Ag Plan. Some of the small business development centers also will work with you on business plans as well. And although like our office won't do a business plan for you, we might help you with components of it, and certainly would review and walk and visit about your plan, or if you were getting started with one as well, for value-added producers.
Good. Yeah, we're reminded just back on this other comment about effective social media engagements, a comment made last night about tagging your pictures with a location. You know, there's so much that can be done in these spaces to get people to promote, post, cross post, and give you feedback on things. Good. Well, these just thumbing through our questions. You guys have done such a great job touching on these different things. Great ideas and feedback. I know we've got a lot of folks that are in various stages of value-added product development, enterprise development, direct marketing activities. You know, in some cases, I know, having worked with folks that have developed value-added products that are going to a store, and you don't always have that immediate direct from the consumer feedback on retention or how do you like the product. And a lot of that sort of feedback you have to get kind of indirectly from a restaurant chef that's working with your product, or from a retail grocer that's working with your products. Any thoughts or ideas on how to continue to keep your finger on the pulse of the market when you're not necessarily face to face with your customer, or in those kinds of situations where you're a little more removed? Tough question. Well, I know from some of the things that I've had some experience with, like folks at a food consumer co-op, you know, that really loves a value-added product. You know, they're going to keep putting that product as long as the sales activity kind of keeps at a certain level. And it seems like you get some measure of feedback there. But, you know, people are sometimes spotty in terms of how often they'll purchase something, or how often even they'll visit an agritourism venture. You know, and so you don't always get that opportunity for the kind of feedback you'd like. You have to work at it. Well, good. So any kind of final closing comments, you guys? Thank you so much for your contributions here tonight. It's such a great program. And again, just kind of following in the tailwinds of another great program from the other day. We've had just some really good feedback and participation. Cindy, can I just turn it to you to sort of wind us down here then?
Yeah, for sure. And we do have a few very specific questions that I'll follow up. A lot of them around value-added products in Tennessee. So Megan, I'll be asking you some questions because that's way outside my comfort zone. But a few things about Kentucky that we dropped in the chat that we'll kind of collate into a, you know, kind of a document that we can post on the website. But I just want to echo Tim. Thank you so much. You know, we had great questions come in, great content. It's so hard to take all this in. We could talk to you guys for a whole week and not cover the topics adequately. So definitely we'll see you on future programs. But just want to remind everybody, you know, we'll get the links out. So if you want to rewatch something, or if you missed anything, and please join us tomorrow night. You'll get a link. And if your link doesn't work, try copy and pasting it, or you can always do the manual entry of the webinar link and then the password in there. So if you have any trouble, to be able to get in there. But I wish we could clap for you guys because this was such a great event. And we really appreciate your help with it. And we'll see everybody hopefully tomorrow night, same time, same place. And hopefully everybody has electricity and warm and ready to learn more and listen to our grower panel. So it'll be some really great content tomorrow night. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone.